Commander Kira Puddle stood at the observation deck of the galactic science vessel, Curiosity, her dark eyes fixed on the massive object floating in the void before them. Even from this distance, the structure's scale defied comprehension, a hulking mass of dark metal stretching beyond the ship's powerful spotlights. "Initial scans complete, Commander," announced Lieutenant Marcus Walsh from his station. "You're not going to believe these readings." Kira turned to face the bridge crew, noting the mixture of confusion and excitement on both human and alien faces. Their joint expedition had expected to find remnants of the mysterious predecessor civilization in this unexplored sector. Instead, they'd stumbled upon something far more puzzling. The vessel, if we can call it that, appears to be roughly 50,000 years old, reported Chief Science Officer Zixtal, her crystalline form shimming with patterns of puzzlement. But the design, it's practically barbaric. Kira approached the holographic display showing detailed scans of the ancient vessel. The ship's hull was composed of crude but incredibly thick metal plates, joined together with what appeared to be primitive welding techniques. No smooth lines or elegant design choices marked its surface, just pure, brutal functionality. "Sir," Walsh's voice cut through her contemplation, "we're detecting more objects ahead. Many more." The Curiosity's engines hummed as they pushed forward, and suddenly everyone on the bridge fell silent. Stretching before them was a fleet of massive ships, all of similar design, floating in perfect formation despite the millennia they had spent in the void. "Count," Kira managed to ask. 7,426 vessels detected," replied the ship's eye, "ranging from 2 kilometers to 12 kilometers in length." Zixtal made a dismissive gesture with one of her crystalline appendages. "Primitive fusion reactors, barely worth studying. This must have been some forgotten race's first stumbling attempt at space travel." But something about that assessment felt wrong to Kira. She'd studied ancient spacecraft for 15 years, and these ships were different. They weren't elegant or advanced by modern standards, but there was purpose in their design. Every component looked deliberately over-engineered, built with layer upon layer of redundancy. "Permission to board the nearest vessel," Kira requested, turning to Captain Rexar, the Arcturian commander of their expedition. Rexar's 6 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of contemplation among his species. "Granted, but be quick about it. These relics are clearly just another dead end." 4 hours later, Kira led her team through the ancient vessel's massive corridors. The ship's interior was austere but functional, with corridors wide enough to move heavy equipment and repair crews. Most surprisingly, their suits detected trace amounts of breathable atmosphere. Some systems were still functioning after 50 millennia. "These markings," research specialist James Rodriguez said, running his hand along a wall covered in geometric patterns. "They're methodical, like a language, but unlike anything in our databases." Kira nodded, an odd feeling of familiarity nagging at her mind. They'd found their way to what appeared to be a control room, dominated by a raised platform with a simple chair. No neural interfaces, no quantum controls, just physical switches and mechanical systems. How could anyone navigate interstellar space with such basic technology? Wondered Zixtal, who had insisted on joining the boarding party. Kira approached the central chair, her hand reaching out to touch the armrest. Suddenly, a soft blue light pulsed through the floor, spreading outward in geometric patterns matching the wall markings. A quiet hum filled the air as ancient systems began to wake up. "We didn't touch anything," Rodriguez exclaimed as consoles around the room flickered to life. A beam of light swept over Kira's body, and a deep mechanical voice echoed through the chamber. The language it spoke made her blood run cold. It was Sanskrit, one of Earth's oldest languages. "DNA analysis complete. Human genetic marker identified. Welcome, inheritor." The other team members stared at Kira in confusion, but she barely heard their questions over the pounding of her heart. This wasn't just any abandoned fleet. This was something impossible, something that would rewrite human history forever. "Commander," Zixtal's crystalline form had shifted to a worried purple hue. What did it say? Before Kira could respond, new lights began appearing across the vast fleet visible through the control room's viewport. One by one, the ancient vessels were awakening from their 50,000-year slumber. "Get me a direct link to Earth Command," Kira ordered, her voice steady despite the implications crashing through her mind. "They need to know that everything we thought we knew about human history was wrong. We didn't climb our way up from primitive tribes to reach the stars." She watched as more ships awakened, their brutal, practical designs now seeming less primitive and more like exactly what they were: weapons built to last beyond the fall of empires. "We fell from them," she whispered, "and someone wanted us to forget." The Curiosity's main conference room buzzed with tension as Captain Rexar's massive frame paced the length of the holographic display. The projection showed thousands of ancient vessels, now pulsing with steady blue light against the backdrop of space. "Impossible," he rumbled, all six eyes fixed on Commander Patel. "Your species was still learning to make fire 50,000 years ago. Every historical record confirms this." Kira stood her ground, hands steady as she manipulated the display to show the ship's interior scans. "Records can be wrong, Captain, or deliberately altered. The ship's AI didn't just recognize human DNA, it was waiting for it. The energy readings are extraordinary," Lieutenant Walsh reported, scrolling through streams of data. "These aren't simple fusion reactors like we thought. There's something else, something our sensors can't even classify." Zixtal's crystalline form had shifted to a deep orange of scientific curiosity. "The engineering principles are fascinating. No quantum computing, no AI neural networks, no antimatter chambers. Everything is mechanical, physical, built with materials we consider obsolete. And yet they're still functioning after 50 millennia," Kira finished. "Because they were built to last, not to impress." The ship's AI interrupted with an urgent alert. "Multiple vessels are establishing communication protocols. They are requesting access to Earth's defense networks." Captain Rexar's spine ridges flared in alarm. "Absolutely not. We can't allow unknown technology to." He was cut off as every screen in the conference room suddenly activated, displaying the same geometric patterns they'd found on the ancient vessel's walls. A deep voice spoke in multiple Earth languages simultaneously. "Protocol Alpha 7 initiated. Stellar drift calculations complete. Timeline verified. The Harbinger approaches." The room's holographic display shifted, showing a massive region of space far beyond the galaxy's edge. Something was moving out there, something that made the ship's sensors struggle to maintain focus. "What are we looking at?" Rodriguez asked, his face pale. The ancient AI responded with cold precision. "The reason humanity burned its own civilization to ashes. The reason we waited in the dark. They are returning." Kira felt her heart racing as new data streamed across the displays. The ancient ships were sharing their database, revealing page after page of humanity's true history. She saw images of vast cities that stretched across continents, fleets of starships that dwarfed anything the modern galaxy had built, and technological marvels that seemed like magic. "We weren't primitive," she whispered. "We were running, hiding." The AI continued, its voice resonating with grim purpose. "The enemy cannot be negotiated with. They cannot be stopped with advanced technology. They corrupt it, turn it against its users. That is why we built this fleet with principles they cannot touch. Simple, mechanical, eternal." Captain Rexar had gone still, all six eyes wide as he processed the implications. "If what you're saying is true, then humanity deliberately regressed. You destroyed your own civilization. Why?" "Because the alternative was extinction," Kira answered, the truth becoming horrifyingly clear. "Our ancestors knew the enemy would return. They knew we'd need weapons that couldn't be turned against us, so they built this fleet, hid it away, and then," she swallowed hard, "then everything humanity would need to remember who we were," Kira finished. Everything we'd need to fight back. Captain Rexar's voice was solemn. Your ancestors knew this day would come. They knew you would need to relearn everything they knew, and quickly. A new alert flashed across the screens. More ships were awakening, not just in this sector but across the galaxy. Humanity's lost fleet had been waiting, scattered in hidden pockets of space, for this exact moment. How many? Kira asked, her voice barely a whisper. Final count. 47,926 vessels detected and responding, the AI announced. All systems nominal. All weapons operational. Awaiting human authorization to begin Operation Renaissance. Kira looked around the room at her alien colleagues, seeing the mix of fear, awe, and dawning understanding on their faces. Humanity hadn't just hidden a fleet. They'd hidden an entire civilization's worth of knowledge and power, preserved in the simplest, most durable form possible. Send word to Earth, she ordered. Tell them it's time to remember who we are. The Earth Defense Council chamber erupted in chaos as Kira finished presenting her findings. Representatives from every major nation argued loudly while holographic displays showed the ancient fleet, now fully awakened and moving with deliberate purpose. Admiral Jackson stood at the center of the storm, his weathered face illuminated by the glow of tactical displays. You mean to tell me that everything we know about human history is a lie? That we once ruled the stars? Not ruled, Admiral, Kira corrected, bringing up new data streams from the fleet's archives. We were explorers, builders. Look at these records. We had colonies across thousands of worlds, peaceful contact with dozens of species. We weren't conquerors, we were innovators. The chamber's main screen filled with images from humanity's forgotten golden age. Massive engineering projects that transformed entire planets. Medical technology that had conquered death itself. Ships that could fold space and time. If we had all this, a Chinese representative asked, why give it up? Why choose to forget? The ancient AI's voice filled the chamber, calm and certain. Because advanced technology became our greatest weakness. The enemy doesn't just destroy, they corrupt. They turn complexity against itself. Your quantum computers, your AI networks, your nanotech. All of it would become weapons against you. Captain Rexar, now serving as the Galactic Council's observer, stepped forward. These ships you built, they're different. Primitive, we thought. But that wasn't the truth, was it? Kira shook her head, pulling up detailed schematics of the fleet's technology. Look at the design philosophy. No computers that can be hacked. No AI that can be turned. Just simple, physical controls. Mechanical systems that can be repaired with basic tools. And materials. She highlighted the hull specifications. Materials that could survive 50,000 years in space. But the weapons, Admiral Jackson interjected. How can such basic technology hope to fight an enemy that defeated us at our peak? The AI responded by activating a weapons demonstration. Outside the council chamber's windows, one of the smaller ancient ships, still larger than any modern vessel, oriented toward an uninhabited region of space. A series of massive mechanical systems engage, purely physical processes building upon each other until... The chamber grew quiet as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just hidden away some weapons, they'd preserved their entire civilization, distilled down to its most essential and durable forms. The enemy believes they broke us, the AI stated. They believe they will find a primitive species, barely reaching for the stars. Instead, they will find the children of those who chose to fall, so they could rise again at the perfect moment. A new series of alerts drew everyone's attention. The ancient fleet was moving, forming up into battle groups that had been planned 50,000 years ago. But they weren't just preparing for war. Educational systems were coming online, manufacturing bays were activating, and training protocols were initializing. Time to remember who we are, Kira said, looking out at the assembled leaders of Earth. Time to wake up. The Admiral nodded, military precision taking over. How do we begin? The AI's response was immediate. Training Protocol 1. The remembering. Your ancestors left you a message. Would you like to hear it? As the chamber filled with the voices of humanity's past, Kira watched the fleet continuing its preparations. They had chosen to forget, so they could remember at exactly the right moment. Now that moment had come, and humanity was about to rediscover just how far they could rise. The training chamber aboard the ancient flagship, Memory of Dawn, hummed with activity as Kira watched Earth's best pilots learn to operate machinery their ancestors had designed millennia ago. Instead of neural interfaces and AI assists, they worked with mechanical controls and physical feedback systems. It's like learning to drive all over again, Lieutenant Walsh commented, his hands wrapped around control columns that responded to pure muscle power. But there's something honest about it. That's what our ancestors intended, Kira replied, reviewing training data from across the fleet. In just 6 weeks, humanity had begun remembering skills they never knew they'd lost. Every system is designed to be understood completely by its operator. No black boxes, no unknowns. The ship shuddered slightly as its massive engines engaged. Across the galaxy, the ancient fleet was moving into defensive positions, preparing for what was coming. The enemy's advance forces had already been detected at the edge of known space. Captain Rexar entered the chamber, his massive frame casting shadows in the mechanical lighting. The Galactic Council has voted. They're concerned about placing so much power in human hands. Let me guess, Kira said, not looking up from her displays. They want control of the fleet. They fear what humanity might become if you reclaim your full technological heritage. A deep laugh echoed through the chamber. The ancient eye, its voice now familiar to them all. They fear what humanity already is. Show them. New holographic displays activated, showing real-time feeds from across Earth and its colonies. In just weeks, humanity had begun adapting the ancient knowledge to their modern needs. The simple, robust principles of their ancestors were being applied to create defenses that no advanced AI could corrupt. We're not going backward, Kira explained. We're learning why our ancestors chose simplicity over complexity. Power isn't about having the most advanced technology. It's about having technology you can trust completely. The chamber's main screen shifted to show the approaching enemy fleet. Their ships were works of art, every surface gleaming with advanced technology. But now, with the knowledge of their ancestors, humanity could see the weakness in such complexity. 4 weeks until first contact, the AI announced. The enemy believes they will find easy prey. Instead, they will find the children of those who chose to fall so they could rise again stronger. Alerts flashed across every screen. More enemy scouts had been detected. The ancient fleet moved in response, its formations executing plans laid down 50 millennia ago. It's time, Kira said. Show them what we remember. The battle for humanity's future was about to begin. The void between stars erupted with energy as the first wave of enemy ships emerged from hyperspace. Their vessels were beautiful crystalline structures that seemed to defy physics itself. Against them, humanity's ancient fleet looked like crude implements of a forgotten age. That was exactly what their ancestors had intended. Enemy vessels attempting cyber warfare, reported the AI across all channels. No effect. You cannot hack a gear. You cannot corrupt a spring. Kira stood on the bridge of the Memory of Dawn, watching as 50,000 years of planning came to fruition. When the enemy launched their first attack, an attempt to turn their target's technology against itself, they found only mechanical systems that responded to physical laws, not digital commands. All ships, execute formation delta, she ordered. The ancient fleet moved with perfect precision, its crews now fully trained in the ways of their ancestors. Show them what simplicity can do. The enemy's second wave emerged from hyperspace, their ships glowing with energy that could reshape reality itself. They struck at the human fleet with weapons that could corrupt any advanced technology, turn any AI, and bypass any quantum shield. They found none of these things. Instead, they found vessels built with materials so basic they were virtually indestructible. Weapons that operated on physical principles so fundamental they couldn't be corrupted. And crews who understood every bolt and lever of their ships, who could repair any damage with tools their Stone Age ancestors would have recognized. "Return fire," Kira commanded. The ancient fleet's weapons activated, not with the elegant precision of modern technology, but with the raw, unstoppable power of pure physics. Mechanical systems built up enormous energies, storing and releasing them in ways that couldn't be hacked or corrupted. Space itself seemed to tear as the ancient weapons fired. The enemy's beautiful ships, for all their advanced technology, found themselves facing something they couldn't comprehend. Weapons too simple to be turned, too robust to be destroyed, and too powerful to be stopped. "They're retreating," Captain Rexar announced, his voice filled with awe. "Humanity's primitive fleet just drove back the most advanced ships we've ever encountered." But Kira knew this was just the beginning. The enemy would return with their full force, expecting to find a primitive species barely reaching for the stars. Instead, they would find humanity remembering who they truly were. "Send word to Earth," she ordered. "Tell them it's time to rebuild. Not with technology that can be corrupted, but with the knowledge our ancestors preserved. We're going to remember everything. Not just how to fight, but how to build, how to grow, how to thrive." The ancient fleet moved through space, its brutal functionality now a testament to human ingenuity. They had chosen to forget, so they could remember at exactly the right moment. Now that moment had come, and humanity was rising again, not with advanced technology that could be turned against them, but with knowledge so fundamental it could never be taken away. "Your ancestors are proud," the AI said softly. "You have remembered who you are." Kira looked out at the fleet, not just weapons, but the seeds of humanity's rebirth. They had hidden their civilization in plain sight, preserved in forms so simple they had been dismissed as primitive. Now those simple tools would rebuild an empire, one that could never be corrupted, never be turned, and never be forgotten again. The stars waited, just as they had 50,000 years ago. But this time, humanity was reaching for them with the wisdom of their ancestors and the strength of their own determination. The enemy had taught them to fear complexity. Humanity had learned to master simplicity instead. And simplicity, as their ancestors had known, was the ultimate sophistication.